Hi everyone, this is Roy Yan from Foundry. In today's video, I'll walk you through an AI-assisted matte painting workflow using Photoshop, Nuke, and Griptape. We'll explore how these tools work together to streamline the creative process and enhance the final result. Let's dive in. First of all, I wanted to create an opening shot for a short movie. It's a dolly shot and the camera slowly pushing to the Rocky Mountain terrain and focusing on the castle on the horizon. So I already went through all of my offline element libraries and stock footage online, and these are the selections for this shot. The next step is I'll bring all of these selected elements into Photoshop and then create masks for each layer and then comp them together to create the look I want. So I show the layer from the back to the front, and this is the opening scene for my camera to push into. Once I'm happy with my matte painting look there from Photoshop, I can bring the Photoshop file into Nuke. So as you're seeing here, the read node can read PSD file from Photoshop directly, and we have a magic button here called Breakout Layers. And you can see that they actually create the layers by name for each layer in Photoshop and even bring in the mask for me. Be able to create a 2.5D setup in Nuke, I create a 3D scene node, bringing all of these layers onto different cards in the scene. For example, I have a geo card here for the background, which is a sky. So I can actually put this layer in any depths of the camera and be able to create the scene in depths in 3D for me. If I want to change any depths of the cards, there's a couple of ways you can do it. First of all, you can definitely move it manually, but you have to scale it manually because from the same camera, the perspective is changed. So there's a trick for this is that if you double click the GeoCard node, each GeoCard node, now we have a lensing focal and lensing aperture. So if you have those correct data from the set or from the image you capture or you collected, will help you to scale the card automatically for you instead of you have to do it manually. For example, I have the data here, or I don't have it, but I know the film back, so I can actually create a CameraTracker node in Nuke. I know this is Academy, FilmGate, and then there's many other options select from. And then I bring it into the CameraTracker node. It will show me the film back size exactly. I put all of these data into GeoCard node. So once that is set up, if you look at the same card here, if I change the depths, you'll see that it will scale up and down along with my depth change. So this is a little trick to bringing all of these cards into Nuke 3D space. Once that is done, I can play with my colors and depth of field accordingly. And then I have this comp here. To finish up this shot, I also add a few more nodes to bring some film look for this opening scene. For example, I add some God rays on the right-hand side of the frame using the VolumeRay node, and I add some customized vignette and the film grain, and we have this shot here assembled from all of those layers imported from Photoshop and put in the 3D cards and 2.5D setup in Nuke. Let's look at its shot. I felt the shape of the mountain or this layer a little bit different than the rocks and the other mountains. So I kind of want to alter the look of the mountain, but I kind of like the way it's spread out from the middle to the right-hand side of the frame. There's a few ways I can improve this. I can go back to my element libraries, go through it again to bring in the exact mountain I might like, or I can use AI now with Griptape. I can do image chain to generate some of the rocks And I could use some of the rocks I already selected as a reference to direct AI to generate the image for me. Also for the layout, since I already like the layout from the shot I built up in Nuke, I could potentially use a Nuke Roto node to draw a mask here and use the mask to direct the image gen from AI and then helping me to get the final result I'm looking for. Okay, so the next step is I actually bring the RotoPaint node in Nuke. So looking at my comp here, I drew the exact shape of this mask and telling the GenAI engine saying, this is the area I want to generate a new mountain for this piece. Just for proof of concept, because I really want to know if the mask matters, right, to the image gen. So I actually drew a dramatic shape of the mountain, just bring it into the AI and see how it looks. Okay, now we're in Griptape. We'll try to use AI to generate the layer of the mountain for us. So you can see that I have a flow here. It's a node-based, very nicely laid out here. And I have my agentic workflow for the prompt, which I explain the detail in a second. And I have 3 background mountain input from Photoshop or the layers I use in Nuke as a reference image. And you can see that I can input the Nuke RotoPaint node mask as a mask to direct the position and the shape of the mountain. And I have this proof of concept here just to give it a try and see if the image gen model is actually listening. And then I bring in multiple different modules for the image gen. In the final step, I even bring in different modules for the final output for the mask as well. So first of all, let's take a look at the prompt here. So the prompt, you can use natural language to drive the model. So it's really dependent on the model itself. And I use a agent schema to help me to categorize all my description, enrich my description for the mountain itself. And then I even use a rule set. The rule set is really set a row, tell the model to from a certain perspective to generate the prompt in which style. For example, I'll be honest, it's just like visual effects compositor, and you need to use the sample image to generate the plate for high-res photoreal feature for film shots. I'm hoping this agent could help in the way I want. So on top of that, I merge another line of text. I want to specify the number of the input image. Let's say input image 1 to 3 is my reference image, and the input image 4 is my guideline for the mountain position and silhouette, which is the mask RotoPaint node from Nuke. So, and then you see I have mountain input as a reference image here, 3 of them. And I have RotoPaint node output from Nuke to direct the shape of the mountain. But I just want to show you this. I have another shape. As I mentioned, I want to just do a proof of concept, right? So I have 3 mountains and I have my RotoPaint mode. I draw an exaggerated shape of the mountain. And look at the output here, just showing that actually the model actually listened. So I'm very happy about this output. Proof that I literally can use the RotoPaint node from Nuke to drive the shape of the mountain, and I then label it. It worked. I was really, really excited. Let's take a look at this image gen process. So I have 2 image gen node here. The reason I picked them is because the Flux 2 and the Nano Banana Pro, these 2 models, they take multiple image input as a reference. I can put in 3 images as the input reference, specify the input number for the roto shape and the shape of the mountain. So I can get different results. You can see that the result from Flux 2 is pretty much the same as the mountain I put into this image gen model. So the way how it looks and some of the details I like, some of them are not. But in general, I think it's in the right direction. For example, this one. Then I also want to show you another example, like output from the Nano Banana Pro. So it is beautifully done in the texture perspective. So it's really focused on the texture. It's give you a very nice details of the mountain and the textures. Still following the lines. Based on the task, I kind of like the style from Flux 2 because I'm not focused on the rock itself. It's really just a background mountain. Show me the size and the scale and blend into the background a little bit more, which is a little bit moody, a little bit cloudy environment. So I picked this one. I used the save image node from the image chain to save the image as the mountain I like. The next step is to get the mask. Be able to get the ideal mask from AI, I also give it a little bit try on the different models. So this one is Nano Banana. Again, I use multiple input. One is the mountain, another one I even just give it a black and white RotoPaint output as a direction. That's saying, just give me a black and white output. So it will give me the output like this. The result is there, but the detail is not great. So, and then I tried another model. This is another thing, as you really have to try different models from AI. So this is different from those nodes from Nuke, because based on the version, you know exactly what it will generate for you, those pixels. But for the AI, the models can be refreshed like daily basis. So you can never imagine which model will get you the best output. So basically you have to try all of these models, but depend on, the task, and they all have different advantages. So in this case, this GPT Image 2 model really gave me a really nice details of the edge. So the next step is I'll bring this pair back into Nuke and finish up my comp over there. The last step is quite simple. We just go back to Nuke and bring in the output from Griptape. So here we have a mountain and its mask. I add a little bit color and edge treatment, throw onto the same 3D card in the 3D space, getting the same depths, look through the same camera, and then I just ran through the pipe, and we have it. Let's take a look at the comparison before and after the change. I'm really happy and satisfied about this result from AI. I get the textures right, and I have the right composition and the shape directed by Nuke RotoPaint node. This is the AI-assisted matte painting workflow I want to show you today, using Photoshop, Nuke, and Griptape. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.